Take your mind into the wonderful world of physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kinetic Hour. Conversations with you and guests. With your host, Kenan, Wesley, Mason. That's me.
Moving on from there, I'm going to bring up a bunch of things right now. Oh boy. I'm just going to bring up a bunch of these clips right here as I prepare. Right here, I'm going to bring up a bunch of pictures here because the other topic that I want to talk about right now has to do with, I'm going to bring that down because I don't need that. And I'm going to bring that down because I don't need this either. But I am going to bring this up because this right here is, let's see, here, we'll go right here. This man right here. This man right here, and I haven't talked about him in quite a while, but this man has created a totally different type of firestorm across America. This man, known as the Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump, the former president of the United States, as he is in court as we speak. At this specific court case is what they're calling the money, money trial between he and, covering up stories about his infidelities and his shady business dealings and him paying people to stay hushed, right? They're calling it the hush money trial, right? They're calling it the hush money trial. And so the Donald, as it appears, I think the Donald is going to need this person here. I thought this was pretty funny. Where's that picture at? Did I bring it up here? Here we go. This is the picture right here. Oh boy. I think Donald is going to need this person right here during all of his trials and tribulations right here. That's the Donald in court next to America's interpretation of Jesus, right? You know how Donald likes to bring up and put the Bible in front of the camera when it's convenient for his political activities, right? The Donald, who's on trial now, which for a trial that they're calling the hush money trial, where he's been paying off certain females. One named Stormy Daniels, who took the stand last week, and another woman, former Playboy model, Karen McDougal, who claims that she had a long-term affair with the former president as well. And and I've mentioned this in past episodes because we all know how Donald loves to complain about everything, right? He's like a 77-year-old baby Huey, right? He complains about everything, like the spoiled brat. If he doesn't get his way, everything is everyone else's fault, right? That's Donald's MO. Everything is everyone else's fault. Everybody's doing wrong except for him, right? Everyone's doing wrong except for him. And so his arch nemesis, or this man that's become his arch nemesis, his former lawyer, his former attorney, Michael Cohen, who spent, I think, 3 years in jail. And I think he was 1 year on house arrest. But he's a free man now. He's done his time and he's able to speak freely on everything that transpired while he was employed by the former president, Donald Trump, who, by the way, right, we've all heard that he's been kind of dozing off in court. You remember how Donald used to, and all of his Republican partners used to talk about Joe Biden, sleepy Joe Biden. I call him sloppy Joe Biden because he's getting sloppier and sloppier with his speech every day. But they used to talk about how he used to fall asleep in the basement. Well, it appears that Donald Trump has been falling asleep quite frequently in the courthouse. In the courthouse. Because he's probably up all night, tweeting and putting stuff on his website or his Twitter account or X account. But the Donald, this is one of the many court cases that he's going to have to contend with over the next several months before the general election in November. And he's in court right now because of business dealings or shady business dealings or covering up business dealings in order to further his political agenda to become president all over again. Now, why does Donald want to become president again so bad? And Michael Cohen, who served his time, the narrative, certain channels are spinning the narrative that, Michael Cohen is, he's a, former prisoner and, he's gone to prison for perjury and lying to the government. Well, who was he lying to the government for? I mean, this was Donald Trump's lawyer, right? And also another one of his people, if you will, Alan Weisselberg, he's in jail right now serving time. And you can go look him up. So 2 people in Trump's camp is serving time for doing Donald's bid. But the Donald still claims his innocence, that he didn't do anything wrong. But you have 2 people here that have served time for doing what the Donald has asked for them to do. And so it's amazing to me because, the Donald preaches being the law and order president. During his presidency, that was his claim. He wants to be the law and order president, right? Law and order. You do the crime, you do the time. That was his motto. Well, why is he complaining so much when things are crushing down on his parade, right? Law and order doesn't apply when it comes to him, as so it appears, because every time the court goes into recess, he goes in front of the camera and complains about how things are so horrible, and this is the witch hunt, right? Those are his favorite terms. This is the witch hunt, right? The witch hunt. And everything is everyone else's fault. He talks about all the legal people that say that this is a sham. And he brings up all these different names of people, different Fox hosts and things of that nature. But it appears that when it comes to law and order, he doesn't want it to apply to him, right? Law and order. So if you want to be the law and order president, you have to have your feet held to the fire as well, Mr. Former President, right? But he also says that America's going to hell. And, these are his favorite mantras, right? America's going to hell. He has his spokesperson, his former or, well, still attorney, I guess, but now his spokesperson, Alina Habba, right? She's always speaking for him, speaking just like him. I like to call her Melania Jr., right? Because she looks similar to his current, who, by the way, hasn't shown up not once to any of his court proceedings. Not once. Now, why isn't his wife supporting him during all of his court proceedings? Why isn't she there? It appears that no one has shown up until just recently. His son, Eric, has shown up to the last few days, the last week or so of his trial. But his wife, Melania, has not shown up not once. I mean, could it be because, she doesn't want to be embarrassed knowing that her husband has been pretty much, the perpetual adulterer during their entire marriage, it appears. I mean, Stormy Daniels said that this goes back to what, 2006. Karen McDougal said she had a long-term relationship. I guess while Melania was pregnant with Barron, right? Infidelities. And it's no secret that the Donald has pretty much cheated on all three of his wives, whether it was Ivana, whether it was his second wife. Oh gosh, her name is on the tip of my tongue now. It'll come to me. And his third wife, Melania. He's cheated on all three. So why would she show up to court knowing that this court hearing is about him paying people to keep quiet about his affairs during his political campaign? Because he knows that it would ruin his chances of becoming president, which he did in 2016. So the law and order president. And he's complaining that many of his supporters aren't able to go in front of the courthouse to support him. Right? There's been kind of a minimal amount of people in front of the courthouse, as we will see right here in this clip here.
I want to dispel all the rumors, really generated by Donald Trump, that his supporters are somehow being blocked and banned from coming down here. The reason there are no supporters, I'm going to show you the video feed coming up in a second, is because they don't want to come down and support him. There is no barriers, there's no barricades. True, you can't just walk down Center Street. That's been blocked off, but the parallel street to Center Street in Lafayette is fully open and leads you right to the courthouse. Let's test this theory that Donald Trump had, is that all of his supporters would be here if it only was for the fact that there wasn't so many blockades. None of that is true. Here's an entirely open park. I got to it through Lafayette, right across from the New York Family Courthouse. This is the total number of people, both red and blue, that are interested in this trial, right? We are directly across from the courthouse. As you can see, a completely empty park.
Ay, ay, ay. But the Donald, the crybaby that he has been over the last couple of years, and keep in mind that the Donald just had a rally over the weekend in New Jersey, and a lot of people did show up. A lot of his supporters did show up. I'll give him that. A lot of people showed up. But did they travel to New York to support him in his court proceedings? Seems like there's a minimal amount of people. And also there's been there's been a lot of reports about how the Donald and his campaign team pay certain operatives. We've heard about Joe Biden and, him paying certain operatives to preside over this court case, how supposedly the judge and the judge's daughter gives a certain amount of money to the either Joe Biden campaign, or certain monies are being laundered to keep Donald in court versus him being on the campaign trail. So there have been many other hosts, if you will, on the internet that have brought certain things to light as far as the Donald and how he likes to stage certain events, such as this one here. I'm going to bring this one up because and this one right here, this was one that really got me. I'm just going to pull up one of the clips right here. This is just one that was brought up about, a lot of people may remember the Donald when he went to Atlanta, Georgia, to Chick-fil-A. And you had this over the top woman hooting and hollering over the top, playing the stereotypical, or what is known as the stereotypical black woman, loud and over the top. And this headline reads, "Exclusive: Trump's viral hug at Chick-fil-A was with a MAGA operative. Her name, Michaela Montgomery, is a political consultant and former Georgia GOP intern." Right? And here she is right here with her wig on. Here she is here, looking more professionalized. And then here she is. And you can all go and look at the clip of him at Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. And this woman right here being over the top, right? She was over the top. Just loud as can be. Because this is the stereotype of how America views many black women, right? So she has to play into the narrative. But again, this is, by any means necessary, Donald Trump will do anything to get himself into the White House. And not only that, there's another narrative that that there is a huge support from black people in the United States. And there may be, but when it comes to the 15% of black people that make up, that percentage in America, black people or African American people make up about 14 to 15% of the United States population. And there is a narrative with Republicans or the Trump supporters that there is a huge support system from black people. So when you see clips like this is supposed to convince me that there is a huge black support system of Donald Trump, right? As you can see here, again, more of the stereotypical notions of who we are as African people here in America, right? And this would, and I love my folks, but this would be considered the quote thug look. I guess that was what it would be considered. I haven't seen any black Rhodes scholars supporting Donald Trump. People that wear suit and ties, right? It's this narrative. And this was put up by Dr. Umar Johnson, I think last week. So shout out to Dr. Umar Johnson for that. But this is the notion that these are the black people that are in support of Donald Trump. Oh, I wish I could make this stuff up, but it would take a lot of energy for me to make all this stuff up. And then another narrative, I'll bring this one up because you know how Donald likes to go to certain places in New York City. I'll bring this one up here. This is the Donald at New York Fire Department, right? He's at the fire department, the New York Fire Department. And you see the Donald here, he's holding pizzas up, and you see how he's carrying the pizzas, you know, and they're showing a time frame here of him with these pizzas here, and when they were dropped off, when they were taken back, making sure he holds them and making sure the cameras, here he is showing up in his there he is tossing them around, fumbling the pizzas, throwing them up in the air. I mean, there he is tossing them around. Good old Donald, anything for a photo op. And there's pizza. You can't really see pizza inside the pizza box. And another thing that they didn't show was one of the firefighters actually leaning against the pizza. He was leaning on the pizzas, his whole body weight just leaning on the pizza boxes. And people are supposed to eat those after they've just been squashed by one of the personnel at the fire department. But again, this is what the Donald likes to do for his supporters. And obviously, the Donald can do no wrong when it comes to his supporters. You know, I've seen multiple clips on TikTok and Instagram talking to different Trump supporters, you know, out in the sticks. But again, you know, the Donald knows exactly who to cater his voice to. He knows exactly who to cater his voice to, which is why he's so elementary with his speech, because he knows who his followers are. He knows who his followers are. And again, I haven't seen any real scholars, black or white or Latin or Asian scholars, that have come forward to give any credible reasons why the Donald should be president again. You know, even the Donald won't give any real concrete evidence of why he should be president again. All he keeps talking about is Joe Biden this, Joe Biden that. Forget about Joe Biden. What about you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And for me, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, so it really doesn't matter to me whether either one of these people go into the White House, because it's crooked on both sides equally. Equally. It's the same American eagle with two wings, two evil wings on the same bird. Neither one of them, the narrative, they'll make you believe that they're different. But like former Governor Jesse Ventura always said, politics is like professional wrestling, right? In front of the camera, they act like they're bitter enemies. They talk about each other, talk about what each other isn't doing for America, show all these different clips during their campaign ads on television, this person's not doing this, this person's not doing that. But when the cameras go off, they're laughing their asses off at you, because the general public keeps falling for these narratives over and over and over and over again every 4 years. I mean, it took a black person to be president before I woke up, right? We remember Barack Obama, slick talking Barack Obama. As intelligent as he is, he's a slick talker, right? He knows how to get into the mind of the people. And the Donald knows how to get into the mind of his supporters. It's politics. It's politics. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. It's politics. And they're going to use any means to quench their thirst for power, because that's what it's about, their thirst for power. So whether it's sloppy Joe Biden or whether it's the Donald with all of his court cases, right? If I had 91 counts of misdemeanors and felonies against me, I wouldn't be able to work anywhere in the United States. But the Donald can actually be president and be a convicted felon at the same time. Check that out. That's America, right? That's America. And Michael Cohen and Alan Weisselberg, they're doing time, or have done time, doing the Donald's bid. But Donald claims that he's innocent on all charges, all of them, including his infidelities. So we'll have to wait and see what transpires as this specific court case continues. I think they're done for the day. So they'll be back. I think Michael Cohen is being cross-examined by Trump's legal team of Todd Blanche and Susan Nicholas. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. Then his spokesperson is Alina Habba, who was his attorney during the other New York case that was brought to him by the people of New York, which was just a few months back. So we'll see what transpires with all of this. But there's a lot on the table. There's a lot on the table with all of this. It looks like he has a lot of court cases pending here. I'll just bring up this one final photo here. The Donald has, you see here, New York civil case against Trump and the Trump organization, which he's appealing right now. And remember, originally he was to pay almost $500 million to the city of New York, but because of he was able to have it reduced to 150 million. But he had to borrow that. Which tells me that more than likely he's not the billionaire that he's been claiming to be for all these years. I mean, he couldn't even put up $500 million, but he's the billionaire, right? So he got reduced to, I think, 150 million or something, a little more, a little less. And he had to borrow that so he can appeal his case. Next, you see the sexual misconduct case with him and E. Jean Carroll, which he tried to appeal, and the judge said, no, we're not going to do that. You've already been convicted twice, being held liable for sexual assault of this woman from almost 30 years ago, Elizabeth Jean Carroll, which he has to pay her almost $100 million. Then you have the January 6th incident, where he's been indicted for that. So that may come to trial eventually, where you saw I think it was maybe 98% Caucasian people storming the White House, or not the White House, but the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., just destroying everything. And there were a few people that got arrested, and they're in jail right now as we speak. Then you have the Georgia election fraud, the 17 or 18 co-conspirators that tried to get the election overturned in Georgia in his favor. So that's going to come back to the light pretty soon. Then you have the case that's occurring right now. They call it the Manhattan hush money case. There you see Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen, who's on the stand right now. Stormy Daniels was on the stand last week giving her testimony about how she had an affair with Donald Trump. And I won't even go into all the details because the details were pretty graphic of their encounters. So that's occurring right now. And then you have the case of him holding all the federal documents once he left the White House. And that trial has been put on hold indefinitely. So the Donald has a lot of stuff to be accounted for. So we'll see how all that transpires in the days and weeks and months to come. We still have a few more months left before the November elections. We don't know who he's going to choose as his vice presidential candidate. I know there are a few people showing up, political figures that are showing up to his trial. I think the governor of North Dakota was there, Doug Burgum. I think he might be one of the people that are trying to win his heart to be a vice presidential candidate. So we'll see how that turns out, and anyone else that's trying to be vice president or trying to be the vice president along with Donald Trump. So we'll see how that turns out. But again, law and order is coming down on Trump as never seen before. You know how Donald Trump does his hands, when he does this, that's when he starts to make up stuff. When he starts doing this, I love watching the Donald because he's comedy. He's comedy. And Donald Trump has been this way. This is nothing new. He's been this way for decades. This is nothing new. So every time you see him doing this, that means he has some things to hide, right? That's why he keeps rambling on during his speeches, right? He likes to ramble. So we'll see what happens after this. We'll see what happens in the days and weeks to come. We'll see what other complaints he'll bring to the table, what other elements of this case he'll be whining about, and we'll see what the daily happenings are when as this case moves forward. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off. I want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I love doing these shows. I see that there are people on Instagram that are watching. Thank you for watching and tuning in. You may not agree with everything that I bring to the table, but that's okay. That's okay. I love that. That's what this is all about. Me bringing my opinions to the table without them being stifled. Like Asna Tabassum is being stifled, being the valedictorian, because she's bringing her opinions to the table and bringing something different for the people of America to consider, right? For people to consider. So for all of those listening and watching on Facebook, on Instagram, and LinkedIn, I thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time,